Hey guys, my name is Samantha Greene and I am currently a realtor at Damon Gettier and Associate Realtors. Today we are going to be talking about pros and cons of online versus in-person classes for getting your real estate license. I personally did an online course and I loved it and hated it at the same time. My pros were how flexible the scheduling was. Personally, I had a full-time job when I first started looking into real estate and started the process because I wanted to make sure I was still making money while I was doing all of the ins and outs of getting ready for the process. So when I was taking my class online, it had a very flexible scheduling. I could take it whenever I wanted. Some nights I was up taking it at 12 o'clock at midnight. That's probably not the best thing for you to do. Make sure you're managing your time and giving yourself some free time. But I work long hours at my other job, so that is what worked for me. But I was able to go at my own pace, which was both good and bad. I had to hold myself to a strict schedule, which I wrote out every day, making sure that I was staying on track, getting through the processes as quickly as I could, and taking the practice test while still retaining as much information as possible. Now, with an in-person class, that is one of the cons, is you don't really get to pick when you take your class. It is very time constrictive. However, the structure is what some people look for, so that can be a pro or a con. For me, that wasn't feasible, so I couldn't do that. One of the very also important pros for online courses is the fact that you can do it from anywhere. Absolutely anywhere in the world. You want to do it from your bed, you want to do it from your bathtub or your shower. Well, that's a little weird, but maybe that's perfect for you. For me, I would do it when I was laying in bed after a long day's work, or I would get up super early and do it before I went to work, depending on the day, depending on my schedule. Unfortunately, for an in-person class, you can't really do that. You gotta be at class, whether it's Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, or whatever. However, if you aren't someone who's working a full-time job and you rely on a structured day and you need that in-person, face-to-face contact, then that is going to be what's best for you. For me, typically I prefer face-to-face, but I couldn't do it that way and I made it work. And I think it helped in a lot of ways of preparing me for the world of real estate because you have to be very independent, self-manage, and be self-disciplined throughout the entire process. Another pro for online is the fact that it is lower cost. Because it's you teaching yourself, the cost is pretty low. My course was about $200, and the courses for real estate range anywhere from $100 to I've seen as much as $600. For in-person, they are more expensive. The in-person course I was looking at was going to be about $550, which is a hefty price. But as far as that goes, let's also talk about some cons for online, because I'm talking about how great it is, but there are definitely some cons. Some of the most important cons, one that was pretty big, was the lack of clarification. You can't really raise your hand and ask the teacher an answer to your questions. So that was really hard for me. I had to take some extra steps and do a lot more research. The time that I was spending on the class, I also had to spend equally as much time doing my own research and trying to make sure that I understood each topic for myself. So all the questions I had, I used YouTube, I used Quizlet, and tried to find the answers or explanations to everything that I could for the things that I didn't understand. So that is a pretty big con, and for a lot of people, that's probably the one that makes them choose the in-person courses. Another con for online is the fact that there is not a structured learning. Like I mentioned earlier, there is not necessarily a structure to online classes. I mean, in mine, they break it down module by module and chapter by chapter, and then they have different practice quizzes for each module. But other than that, you are setting up your own structure. You're deciding when and where you want to complete your classes, when you can go through the modules, which order you go through them in. If you want to start at the very last module and then go to the second and the first, that's up for you to do. And then another one is the fact that it's not very hands-on. You are staring at a computer screen for 30 minutes to 8 hours a day, depending on the day, depending on how much time you've set aside. At this day and age, we all experienced COVID, and I'm sure a lot of us had to do school online for those of us who were in school or had kids that had to do school online. And it was a hard time. And online learning in general can be very difficult, especially for us as people, because we crave human connection and face-to-face interaction. But despite that, I still think that it's possible. I did it, many other people have done it. They've gone through this course and learned the online side of things. And it just really depends on the type of person you are and what you can set aside and the commitment you can make to this. I know that there are a lot of pros and cons, both for and against online and in person. So it's really up to you, whatever you decide for yourself. And everybody's going to be different. Just because you know somebody who did in person doesn't mean you have to. Just because you know somebody that did online does not mean you have to. Make sure that you're doing whichever one is the best fit for you. And my biggest tips for you to succeed is to make sure that in whichever format you pick, you are setting aside the time that you need and that you are making a schedule and keeping yourself accountable. Ultimately, self-management is the key to this career. You need to self-manage yourself in your class if you're going to self-manage yourself in your career. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if you live in the Roanoke or Salem area, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Samantha Greene, or to reach out to Damon Gettier and Associate Realtors. We would be happy to help you, whether you're starting your real estate career or looking for your first home. Anyways, have a great rest of y'all's day. Bye.